From swords to tridents, passing through bows, crossbows and more, Minecraft has quite a few interesting weapons that all work very differently from one another. With the addition of the new maces, I figured I would try adding them to Terraria, in a way that captures their mechanics and adapts them in 2D. I am fully aware that the game already has swords, tridents and whatnot, and the goal is to avoid recreating bland items at all costs. I want each one of them to feel good to use, and actually have its own mechanics that you can't find elsewhere in the game. Let me demonstrate. The first item is the diamond sword, probably the most iconic weapon in Minecraft. Given how simple all these items are, I made them all very early game. They can all be obtained pre-boss, and while I won't tell you what it is right now, I think I can safely say that their obtention method is better than what you're expecting right off the bat. More on that later. Swords are possibly the most boring and repetitive weapon type in Terraria, while also likely being the most unviable one. I'm talking about basic sword-typed weapons, like the breaker blade, keybrand or the purple clubberfish, rather than the ranged items like the Terra blade that could pretty much be a mage weapon instead. I'm not going to give magical properties to the diamond sword, because that wouldn't make any sense. But the least I can do is rework how it swings around the player. I made it much more fluid, and it actually slashes in the direction of the cursor, meaning you can attack enemies below you if you need to. I added the cooldown from Minecraft's attack speed system to the sword, and if you click too fast, all you'll do is a little thrust that I made as pathetic as possible. Just like in Minecraft, where spam clicking deals no damage, you have to wait before releasing a full swing that always crits. To compensate, the sword cannot crit while stabbing, and while weak, this attack method is still decent at dealing with small enemies such as bats while exploring.
And then you gotta let it charge up and then, oh! Yeah. Oh, that's actually satisfying. That's actually really satisfying.
Continuing to the next weapon, the Trident. If you like what you've seen so far, please consider subscribing and showing your appreciation to the video. Thank you. Terraria already has a Trident item, but that's not stopping me from making my own. I simply named it Prismarine Trident because of how it looks and to avoid any confusion. It can be used like a simple spear by right-clicking, although I tried making its animation a bit smoother than vanilla spear type weapons. As you can expect, you can throw the trident by holding the right click. The longer you charge it for, the further it goes and the more damage it deals. Unlike Minecraft though, you don't need to catch the trident if you want to keep attacking with it, as it would make it a super bad weapon in Terraria, and I also couldn't give it a loyalty effect as it would completely invalidate this mechanic and turn it pretty much into a ranger weapon. Launching the Prismarine Trident instead gives you a 15 seconds debuff preventing you from launching it again. You can pick up the trident to make the debuff disappear. I think that's a good middle ground and should do a good job at keeping this a melee-themed weapon despite the ranged attack. The thrown trident has a slightly glowing outline so you can easily see it in caves. It also hints at it being interactable in a way, which is important.
How does this work? You throw it, and then you can pick it up. And then until you pick it up, you can't. Whoa, that's sick.
It also works perfectly with my spear rework mod if you wanna try it out, and you can even trigger weak points by throwing it. Next up is the weapon you've all been waiting for. It's a Minecraft feature that's been making a lot of noise, maybe a tad controversial too. Copper can oxidize over time, and it will take an average of 10 minutes for your copper short sword to become an exposed copper short sword, then a weathered copper short sword, and finally an oxidized copper short sword. Every tier reduces its damage by 1, but gives it a 33% chance to poison your target, making the exposed tier a surprisingly decent weapon early game if you're lucky or unlucky enough to get it fast. If this isn't peak weapon design, I don't know what is. It's also funny to think how it makes it slightly harder for players to get the zenith, since you need a fresh copper short sword to craft it. Now for the actual weapon you've been waiting for, the Mace. Just like the Prismarine Tridents, I had to rename it to avoid confusion with the Terraria Mace found in gold chests. If you're not familiar with it in Minecraft, it is a weapon that deals more damage based on the player's fall distance at the time of the hit. This one is very straightforward. I gave it a similar swing animation to the diamond sword, except you cannot orient it in every direction, only left and right. It has a long animation ending to help justify its long use time without sacrificing the feel of its weight. This kind of animation is very important when making heavy weapons, and the lack thereof is the reason why items such as the breaker blade and the purple clubberfish barely feel heavy despite what they should be. I think this will be a good starting point when eventually tackling a sword subclass rework in the future. The mace only deals damage during the swing animation too, so the player can't hurt enemies by ramming into them when the hammer is down, as that wouldn't make much sense. It also makes it slightly more challenging to perfectly time your hit when falling down on your target. There is a huge difference in the HP scaling of enemies between Minecraft and Terraria. A Weaver has 150 hearts, which is 15 zombies, while the King Slime in Terraria has 2000 in classic mods, which is 80 blue slimes or 45 zombies. As such, I had to make a choice between balancing the mace around normal exploration gameplay or make it a practical boss killing weapon, risking to see it explode the rest of the game. I went with the first option, which definitely makes more sense given that the mace is a pre-boss item and that exploration actually makes for the majority of the playtime in pre-hard mode. You should be able to one-shot most cave enemies by jumping from a ledge or using a cloud in a bottle. It works super well when used with pressure traps from my Better Caves mod too. Upon landing a hit, you will be granted a buff which cancels all fall damage for 2 seconds, making the weapon actually usable in the early game.
And let's see. So does 116, 128 damage normally when you pull up on a... Oh, 250. So that's double. And if you do damage, I'm assuming it doesn't... Yeah, it doesn't do 400 damage. Okay, okay.
And don't worry, you can still use it to smash bosses. It just requires a lot more setup.
And then we're gonna spawn King Slime. And so it doesn't despawn. And then we're gonna test out the mace. Oh! Damn! Again.
I really wanted to avoid putting these items into chests, or making them rare drop from some enemies, as it's something you've seen hundreds of times right now, and would likely feel super lazy given the scope of the mod. I also want my small mods to be nice additions to all mod packs, and bloating underground chest loot with even more items was definitely not the way to go. I added structures that generate underground, inspired by mob spawners from Minecraft, and after a few iterations, settled for one using a pattern of grey bricks and green moss. They need to be partially exposed to be able to spawn, meaning you'll never find one floating in midair or buried inside a wall. The way they work is somewhere between a trial chamber and a normal mob spawner. After right-clicking them, you're given a small timer to run away before they spawn a wave of enemies. Do that 3 times and you'll be given a random item from the mod before breaking the spawner. You can't break the spawner with a pickaxe, but you can with explosives or by breaking the block under it, which won't give you any loot.
This is a dungeon? Oh well, let me put some torches around it to fix that. Yippee. 3. I right clicked on it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, there's a lot of those. Dumbasses, they spawned in the lava. They're so stupid. They're so stupid. Alright, now I'm gonna drop down and kill him. Oh! Whoa, you see that shit? Was that cool? Was that not cool?
By default, they are a bit less common than underground cabins, but you can adjust their rarity in the config files. You can also disable copper oxidation there if you'd like. Just like my other cave mods, Better Caves and the Orchid Mineshaft, I made sure the structures won't cause any world-gen issues when used with other mods. I also suggest playing with the 3 at once, as they cover different aspects of the early game and pair super well together. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you like what I do. As always, the link to the mod is in the description. You can also join my Discord if you'd like.
Oh! Don't put that in the video.